Thank you for joining me today. We are talking about pricing concrete work. So when we are talking about concrete, we need to figure out the price for material, the price for labor, and the price for equipment. As a material, as a concrete, we need to figure out what is the cost of the material and what is the cost of labor and what is the cost of equipment. For labor and equipment, we covered this last meeting that I cannot figure out the cost of labor and equipment for concrete until you figure out what is the used method to place concrete, how you are going to pour concrete. I discussed this is not the only methods, just a few examples. We have different methods to place concrete, something using direct pouring from the truck. That's it. Here is the truck, the concrete coming out to be poured, and that's it. Sometimes we are using hand or powered operated bugs like this one. Or sometimes we are using crane. Most of the project, if you look around yourself, you will find there is a big crane built in the site of the project, and this crane is used to pour concrete and something else also. And sometimes we are using pumps for a huge amount of concrete, huge foundation, huge slab, huge project. We can use pump. So the concrete coming from the truck to the pump, then the pump can be used to pour concrete anywhere at any elevation. So once you figured out the method of pouring concrete, then I can figure out which equipment I need and how many laborers I need. Crew. What is the size of the crew beside this equipment to figure out or to pour concrete? Based on the equipment and the crew together, I can figure out the productivity rate. Then I can figure out what is the time needed. Once you figured out the time needed to finish up this activity, I can figure out the price or the cost of this equipment or these equipments and the laborers in this group. I finished up an example last meeting talking about pouring of 3,000 cubic yard of concrete. And we have the wage rates. If you would like to hire a laborer, this laborer will cost you $30 per hour. If you would like to hire a labor, foreman will cost you $33 per hour. If you would like to hire equipment operator, will cost you $40 per hour. If you would like to rent crane, it will cost you per day $1,015. If you would like to rent concrete pump, if you would like to rent conveyor system, will cost you $1,150. But I will not use all of them. I have different options to pour concrete. Option number 1, option number 2, and option number 3. As a contractor, you have to select the most effective one for you. Most effective means less cost and easy handling of concrete. That makes sense? So for example, option number 1, I'm going to use crane and the bucket method. In this method, I need 2 cranes to be rented and a crew of people consisting of 1 foreman, 12 laborers, and 2 equipment operators. I did what will be the cost for this option. You have 2 cranes, and I need to finish up this work in 3 days based on the productivity rate, 50 cubic yard per hour. That means I have 3,050, so I need around 63 hours. And keep in your mind, I added 3 hours extra for just the start up and finishing the work. So I need 63 hours. This 63 hours can be converted to 3 days continuously work. So we need 3 days rent for this crane, and we have 2 cranes, and the cost per day for 1 crane is $1,015. So I can figure out how much it cost for the equipment. And I need 1 foreman, 12 laborers, and 2 operators, equipment operators, so I can figure out the cost for the crew. Then what is the total for labor? What is the total for equipment? Once you get the total, you can divide this amount by the total of concrete, 3,000 cubic yard. I can tell you what is the unit price. This is called unit price. Price for each cubic yard of pouring concrete. I will do the same for option number 2. I will do the same for option number 3. Then I can make a comparison to figure out the best choice to use in my project. That makes sense? There is a homework. I posted it today. The second problem, something looks like this. We have a building is to be supported on a reinforced concrete raft foundation. We have a foundation. The foundation contains 5,000 cubic yard of concrete. So we need to pour 5,000 cubic yard of concrete. And this concrete will be placed in a single continuous pour. That makes sense? So continuously. Concrete is to be brought to the site in concrete mixers, considering the following data. We are given the wage rates, and we are going to use this option. We don't have different options. We have only one option, crane and the bucket. I'm going to use one crane, and crew of 1 foreman, 10 laborers, 1 equipment operators, and the productivity rate will be 50 cubic yard per hour. So this option will give you the productivity rate 50 cubic yard per hour. So how many number of hours needed to finish up this pour? I have 5,000 cubic yard of concrete. I can pour 50 cubic yard per hour. I can add 3 hours extra starting up and finishing the work. So the total number of hours that needed for this option will be 5,000 divided by 50 plus 3 hours will give you around 103 hours. This number of hours can be divided by 24 because one day has 24 hours. It will be around 5 days working. So the number of hours will be used to figure out the price for the people, for the workers, for the labor. And the 5 days will be used to figure out the price for the equipment. This is for the equipment, and this is for labor, because the labor cost per hour, but the equipment cost is per day. So let's start. For equipment, the cost will be, we are going to rent 1 crane for 5 days, and the cost per day is $1,015. That makes sense? So this is the cost. 1 times 5 times 1,015 equal $5,075. This is the total cost. But you can convert this cost to unit price. of equipment. Unit price will equal $5,075 per 5,000 cubic yard will give you $1.15 or $1.015 for each cubic yard pouring of concrete. This is the unit price of equipment. What will be the cost for labor? We need to hire one foreman. So one foreman will be hired for 103 hours, and the cost or the price for each hour will be $33. So this is the cost for one foreman. So 103 times $33 will give you 3,399. We need to hire 10 laborers. So we have 10 for 103 hours. And the cost for 1 hour for one labor is $30. So the total cost for this 10 laborers will be 10 times 103 times $30 will give you $30,900. And we need to hire one equipment operator. This one operator time 103 hours, and the cost or price for each hour is $40. So the cost of one operator will be $4,120. So the total cost of labor will be $38,419. This is the total cost of labor. If you would like to get the unit price for labor, I will divide this amount of dollars by 5,000 cubic yard. So it will be $7.7 for each cubic yard of pouring. So the final conclusion for labor, for equipment, the total cost for equipment is $5,075. And the total cost for labors, $38,419. This is the total cost to pour all 5,000 cubic yards. If you would like to figure out the unit price for equipment, the unit price was $1.015 for each cubic yard. For labors, the unit cost will be 7.7 for each cubic yard. This is the solution for the second problem in your homework. Second problem in your homework, we have an activity, just one activity, to pour concrete for foundation. And we learned before exam 1 how to figure out this amount, 5,000 cubic yards. Now we have option to pour this concrete using crane and bucket. To use this option, we need to rent one crane and we need to hire one foreman, 10 laborers, and one equipment operators. What is the total cost, or what is the total price, or what is the unit price? We did these calculations to figure out the total cost for the whole 5,000 cubic yard, and what is the unit price. And in the lecture notes, we have the same example, but we have different options. Option number 1, option number 2, and option number 3. If you have different options, but in this problem, we have only one option. Do you have any question so far? If you have any question, just let me know. So this is the first part if you would like to talk about labor and equipment to pour concrete. But keep in your mind, concrete as a material has different specifications. Concrete as a material has different specifications. And we need to answer this question. Because if you, right now, if you use your cell phone and call a concrete company to order concrete, they will ask you few questions. What are the specifications of concrete you need? And based on the answer, I can tell you a quote for this concrete. For example, the person who will respond to your call will have a table like this one. The basic price for any concrete must be based on what is the strength you need. Keep in your mind, this is outside the scope of this course. Concrete to pour foundation is different than concrete for columns, is different than concrete for floors, is different than concrete for just parking area. Each concrete will have a different specifications. For example, if you are ordering concrete with concrete strength F prime C equal 3000 psi, and the size of the gravel or the coarse aggregate 3/4 inch, and this type of cement is used with the ordinary cement, Portland cement, the cost for each cubic yard will be $120. But we need, if you have something else or different specifications, we will have additional cost. And this table can tell you this. For example, if you would like to change the type of cement, as I mentioned before, concrete for foundations, maybe we are going to use different type of cement to have more resistance to the groundwater table or more resistance to the sewer water, if you have. So if you change the type of cement, we have extra cost $5 for each cubic yard. If you need to add air entrainment to make your concrete lighter and permeable maybe, and more isolation for this concrete against heat, against noise, whatever, we need to add extra cost $4. And if you read these specifications, we have extra charge if you are handling concrete during the winter time, which started from November 25. Today is November 16. We're still good. We will not add this extra cost if you are ordering concrete now. But after 1 week, maybe from now, you need to add the extra cost $12 per cubic yard because I will add some additives to concrete to maintain the temperature during the winter temperature. That makes sense? And also we have extra fees for environmental fee. So it will be $3 per cubic yard. This is mandatory, whatever the time. And if you would like to add calcium chloride or with a percentage 1%, 2%, we have extra cost. And keep in your mind, we have tax. So all of these are extra cost. You have to consider them when you are pricing concrete as a material. I have some examples here. I covered some of them last meeting, and I would like to cover the rest. For example, if you would like to order concrete with these specifications, can you tell me what will be the price for the 1 cubic yard. 3,000 cubic yard, I'm sorry, 3,000 PSI concrete, the basic cost is $120. This is the basic cost. We need to add environmental fee and we need to add tax. Environmental fee will be $3. And we are using type 1 cement, no change. No extra cost for the cement type. And we are handling this concrete during the winter time. So I have to add $12 extra cost for each cubic yard. So if you add all of them together, the basic price, the environmental fee, the winter time handling, the cost will be $135 for each cubic yard. If you add 7% tax, so if you multiply 7% times 135 will give you 9.45. If you add this amount of tax beside this amount, total amount, the total cost will be $144.45 for each cubic yard. That makes sense? If you have different specifications, if you would like to order concrete with these specifications, 3,500 PSI concrete strength, I'm gonna use type 5 cement, I'm gonna add air entrained. So I need to go back to this table. To order concrete of 3,500, the basic cost will be $135. This is the basic cost. You need to add environmental fee. This is mandatory. You need to add winter time handling, 12. You need to add, because we changed the type of cement. The typical type is number 1, but we are going to use number 5. So the extra cost for this concrete mix will be $5.5. Extra cost to change the type of cement. Because you will add air entrainment. For this mix, concrete mix, I need to add extra cost, $6 for the air entrainment. So the total cost, if you add all of them together, the total cost will give you $161.5. We have 7% tax, so I have to multiply this amount by 7%, will give you 11.31. If you add this one by this one, so the total cost will be $172.81 for each cubic yard. This is the cost of concrete as a material. This is what you will pay for the concrete company. Does that make sense? We still need to pay for the labor and the equipment. This is different part. So keep in your mind, if you would like to figure out what is the price of concrete as a material, not all concrete material has the same price. It's based on what is the specifications of this concrete. For example, we have different specification here. We need 4,000 concrete strengths. We need type 5 cement. We need to add air entrained. We need to add fiber reinforced. So the basic price for 4,000 will be this concrete mix, which is $140. This is the basic cost, $140. Environmental fee extra for winter heat, $3.12. Because we changed the type of cement for this kind of concrete mix, so I need to add change of cement type 6.5. And we are going to use extra for air entrainment for this concrete mix, number 3. It will give you $7 extra cost for air entrainment. So we have $7. Because you are using a fiber reinforcement, it's a different specification. I think fiber, here you go, this one. If you are going to use polypropylene fibers, it will cost you $17 for 2 pounds per cubic yard. I will add 2 pounds of this fiber for each cubic yard, so the cost will be $17 if you decided to use fibers in this concrete mix. So I need to add $17 fiber. So the total cost will be $185. Add 7% tax, so it will be $12.99 tax. The total will be almost $200 for each cubic yard. That makes sense? So the specifications will change the price of concrete. That makes sense? This is another example with different specifications. In your homework, the first question, the same. I'm giving you this table and I'm giving you concrete with different specifications. Can you tell me what will be the cost here for each cubic yard? What will be the cost here for each cubic yard? What will be the cost here for each cubic yard? Does that make sense? So based on the specifications and what did you change, we have additional cost. We have to consider them to figure out the total cost of cubic yard of concrete. Anybody has any question about this point? So right now you are ready to solve your homework. Question number 1 and the question number 2 already done. Also, if you would like to price concrete work, you have to consider the cost for the labor to erect concrete form and remove them. Erection and removal of formwork. As a contractor, this formwork will cost you as a material because this formwork most of the time made from wood. So we have different techniques. We have different materials. We have different options for the concrete formwork. This is another part of the cost estimation. It's talking about the concrete formwork. A formwork system may be custom built at the site for use one-on-one project only, one time. Otherwise, a system that was prefabricated off-site at some time in the past may be employed on the project for one or several uses and then be shipped off to other project for the further use. Based on the technique, based on the material, we can see what are the different options for formwork. Whichever method of providing formwork is adopted, there are number of costs you must be considered. That must be considered when pricing a formwork system. First, the cost of building the form system and keeping it in good repair can be spread over the number of uses the form system is put to. I'm not sure. Sometimes the formwork is used for one time only, and sometimes they can be used several times. The cost of setting up the form system each time it is used, I think for the first time will be different than the second time. The cost of removal the system after the concrete has been placed, maybe after 7 days or 10 days, we are going to remove the formwork. This is another cost. Other possible costs such as transportation. We need to rent a truck to move the formwork from one project to another project, from the storage to the project site. Handling and storage of the form system between uses. This is also additional cost. As a contractor, you have to consider this in your pricing. Keep in your mind, there are a number of items that impacted the productivity and the cost of formwork, especially the potential for reuse of a form system, complexity of formwork design. Sometimes we have a very complicated formwork with bolts, with different parts that need more attention when the erection is done. So sometimes we have different technique for the formwork, like fly forms, number of form ties required for a system. These ties to make sure your formwork is safe, because during pouring concrete, the concrete is liquid, still liquid, not hard enough. So if this formwork is not strong enough, maybe we can expect explosion for the side of the formwork. This is not good. This is a very big accident that can happen during pouring concrete. So what is the number of ties needed? Because the number of ties, the more number of ties, the more time we need to spend, the more cost for the labor. That makes sense? So also, a major factor in determining the cost of formwork is the number of times a set of form can be reused, because it doesn't make sense if you have reusable formwork. It doesn't make sense to put the whole cost for the formwork on one project. No, doesn't make sense, because the formwork will be used in a different project. So what is the reasonable amount of cost that will be assigned to this project, because this formwork will be reused elsewhere. Okay, so we have cost for the material of formwork itself, and we have cost to construct this system of formwork, fabrication cost. All of these costs will be distributed over the total number of square feet formed by the form system over its life. Its life. As I mentioned, doesn't make sense to put all these costs on one project. No, because the formwork will be used in a different projects. Also, sometimes we have complexity of formwork design. You are designing or you are constructing a curved wall. In this case, we will have too much waste of formwork as a material. To build up this curve, it's not easy like straight. If you would like to construct a straight wall, the formwork is more easy, just straight. But if you would like to construct a curved wall, probably the waste of the material of the formwork will be too much. So this cost will be different than this cost. So the complexity of the formwork design will affect also. Formwork can mold concrete to virtually any shape, but constructing complicated shapes significantly increases the cost of formwork, increases the waste of the material, increasing the cost, because we need laborer for longer time, and maybe we need more professional labor, so more cost. Where unique concrete shapes are called for on a project, forms will have to be custom made. It's not a typical one, but it will be custom made. So not only will this result in a high initial construction cost, but also if the shape is not to be repeated. This is another point, which is not good. If you are going to construct this wall, and after this we are no longer constructing this kind of wall, so the formwork used here will be destroyed, because they are no longer be used after this project. So if the shape is not to be repeated again and the forms are not reusable, the cost per use will be extremely high, because I will not distribute the cost over the number of projects. It will be only for this project. So this will add additional cost. This is the last part in this module. I covered in this module how to price the concrete work. I focused mainly on the concrete as a material based on the given specification. I focused on the labor and the equipment based on the technique that will be used to pour your concrete. I gave some introduction about the formwork and some about the steel reinforcement.